Well, hello and welcome to Talk Leadership with Cedrick. You know, everybody needs a little TLC. Talk Leadership with Cedrick is where we focus on leadership and personal growth with business leaders and educators and local thought leaders. Our goal is to introduce our audience to leaders who are making an impact with innovative ideas. You know, our guiding leadership principle is the law of contribution, which says growing yourself enables you to grow others. You see, you can't give what you don't have. So first, you must grow yourself in order to grow others. We believe that outstanding leaders like yourself will help us help others. So tonight, we have in our audience, in our studio, another dynamic leader. Now, you know, every week I like to do a proper introduction of our guests. So let me introduce our special guest for tonight, Ms. Heather Manzano. Speaker, trainer, professional coach, and mentor, Heather Manzano's life work is focused on leadership and communication development, professional skills, and personal growth. For more than 2 decades, Heather has worked within corporate America as senior management, focusing her energies on creating cultures of communication and collaboration that foster growth. Her decades of success in corporate leadership, combined with being trained and mentored by both John Maxwell and Paul Martinelli, has given Heather a powerful understanding of how people and companies work and how they can work more effectively towards their highest potential. Heather currently works for full-time for Empowered Living as their director of operations, as well as her own business, Manzano Consulting, which is dedicated to helping business leaders develop their number one asset, their people. See, when not working, Heather enjoys life in Jupiter, Florida, with Andrew, her husband of 30 years, their 23-year-old daughter, Brianna, and their 15-year-old son, Brandon. So guys, help me welcome Ms. Heather Manzano to the studio. I'm confident that you guys are going to thoroughly enjoy listening to Heather this evening. So here goes Heather. Well, welcome. So we're talking with Ms. Heather Manzano today, and I tell you what, guys, you're ready. Get back and listen to a great interview with Heather. So Heather, thanks again for joining the show, and I'm looking forward to having this dialogue with you. So tell our listeners about your journey to leadership and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Cedrick. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you and your viewers today. And, every time I get asked to do these, it's a good reflection time for me to look back and say, really, what has been the focal points of my journey? And I spent 25, 30 years in a corporate setting, basically was in banking and started as a teller and worked my way up to senior management. That was my journey, several years there. And so I call it like on the spot training, where like my journey was not necessarily in a college learning. It was in real life going through the corporate workplace. And it was such an amazing experience. And it's interesting because as I started getting into leadership positions, even foundational ones, like, in the banking world was head teller. And then you go to assistant manager. And I had this thirst for leadership. I really did. And interestingly enough, I'm trying to think, I must have Googled, I couldn't have even Googled. I think it was before Google. My goodness, giving my age away. Maybe I walked into a bookstore, that's what it was, and I found books by John Maxwell. And I just picked up one and read it, and I immediately resonated with the servant leadership journey, and immediately started implementing it with my teams. And, that journey kind of led me, over the next 7-8 years, the John Maxwell team was formed. And through that connection, I started officially bringing all of his work into my workplace. So I was leading in the workplace, leading with, the Maxwell materials, and then joined the John Maxwell team. And in that, I remember sitting in one of the, you and I know the John Maxwell certification events.
Right.
I remember my second event sitting in it, and something just hit me and said, you need to be doing this for more than just one company, and so I went back to my employer who had actually sponsored me in to the John Maxwell event. And said, I just want to be able to do this. This is, I need to be a piece of this. I feel this is part of my mission. And they gave me their blessing, and they became my first official client. So I transitioned from employee to the client relationship with them. And that journey led me to take a step into my own business and begin teaching leadership. And continuing to grow along the way as part of the John Maxwell team. And then, of course, through that relationship, I met Paul Martinelli. He was, at the time, was the president of the John Maxwell team, and made that connection. And now, I work as part of his company as well as maintain my own clients. And it's just been an amazing journey, and it's been an incredible experience. So that's kind of in a nutshell where I've been.
Well, that's awesome. That's an awesome journey, and I'm sure your employer went, "Wait a minute, we can't send anyone else to training you because they tend to leave."
But I noticed they haven't put anyone else in the John Maxwell team curriculum since then.
This leadership development space is one that provides a lot of personal gratification. I mean, I know you go into it normally because you want to add value to other people, in your case, to your organization, right? But then once you get there, you realize, wow, this is adding so much value to me. I can't help but do this full time. It's kind of like the decision that you made, right? But why do you think that business, the leadership development space, called your name?
It called my name because I think there was always something inside of me that was seeking good leadership. As everyone, I had over my corporate career, I had good leaders and I had poor leaders. And there was always a piece of me that was drawn to that admiration of really good leaders, because of the way it made me feel, because of what it stirred inside of me, right? And I wanted to be that for somebody else. So I think that that's really what it was. And when I started exploring what that meant to me in my world, how can I use this to add value to other people? I realized the more I grew myself, and the more I did that, and the more I served others with that, the more gratifying it was to me. I felt like I was living my purpose. I remember the first time that I went in to teach the leadership game to a corporate company, I came out feeling like I was on top of the world. Like, just because I saw the moments of awareness that the people in the room had. And I remember what that felt like, and still feels like. I'm sure you can relate when you have moments of awareness. And I was like, this is what just lights my fire, being able to do this for other people. And so I think it's been a combination of my journey, seeing the admiration in other people, feeling the inside stirring for me, and then wanting to be able to do that for other people.
Well, that's awesome. That feeling that you get, it's hard to describe because it's those once in a lifetime moments that you go, wow, look at that person. They get it, or they're soaring, and you get that warm feeling inside. And it's just always undescribable. So what is one of those things that just makes you smile in the morning every day?
Well, I'm going to kudos to my husband, on the personal side of things. He is just the best person I know, and my family make me smile. I love them, and I love being around them. And that's just the logistics of, what make me smile. But the other thing that makes me smile is again, knowing that I am a part of and I work with an organization that allows me to add value to other people. I go back to those moments when I see the light come. Right now I work with Empowered Living, and we have a team that's here. We've brought in a team of younger people. And so I have the opportunity to mentor them. And they're an incredible team, and I see them growing, and I see them stretching, and I see them taking steps to become better at what they do and at who they are. And when I get up every morning and know I get to come and be a part of that, I seriously smile. I'm actually on the days that, there's been days that I've taken off, and I'm like, man, I really want to be there and be in that energy and be a part of that. And so really, I think I'm at a place in my life where personally and professionally, it's a good spot, and it really does make me smile when I think about it. It's a great question. But personally, having people I love around me, that John Maxwell says, success is when people who know you the best love you the most, right? And I do love the people that I'm around and respect them the most. And then that makes me smile. And then being able to come and be in a work environment that allows me to add value and grow other people it's incredible.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Leaders come in all different sizes, different packages, right? And they come with different strengths. What strengths do you feel are important for that successful leader to have?
Yeah, I think quick decision making, being able to make a decision quick and then stand behind it. I think that's one. And the other that I believe is being able to influence people. I believe that leadership is influence, right? Nothing less. And I believe that you influence by walking the talk. When I look for a leader that I can get behind, I look for someone who is quick to make decisions and stand behind them. And I look for someone who walks the walk. It doesn't ask their people to do anything they're not willing to do. If they're the first in. That's been so important to me on my journey, being able to look up to other leaders who have done that and then be able to do that for other people. So I think decision making and walking the talk out of integrity are two of the ones that I would say are most important.
Okay, yeah, those are definitely two good ones, because we know that leadership is influence, right? And
right.
we influence someone every day, and we might as well make it good, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we know that good leaders ask great questions as well, and so what has been some of those best questions that either you have asked or someone has asked you that's made a big impact?
Yeah. This might be an interesting one, right? But I'm going to reframe some thinking here. One of the pivotal questions that has been asked of me in my life, when I look back, is, was the question, how much are you willing to invest in yourself for your growth? And I say that because Cedrick, a very important pivotal time in my life where I was looking at stepping into a mentoring relationship. And I got to tell you, if we back up a little bit, my employer sponsored me into the John Maxwell team because if I were to be honest, I wasn't willing to make that investment in myself, right? They saw something I didn't see. So they said, we'll send you, and then the next step in personal growth for me was stepping into a mentoring relationship. And at the time, I really, really wanted to do it. But when I saw the price tag attached to that, I was like, every fear, every terror barrier, every boundary that could go up just lit up. And, my husband, he was like, you absolutely need to do it. And I spent that weekend contemplating all the other things I could do with that money, right? I thought, man, we could go on a dream vacation with that money. Man, I could pay for a year of my daughter's college education with that money. Man, I could, and we could pay off our car and all these I coulds. So I think my husband then asked me the next most important question I think I can think of. And he said to me, so Heather, you have just thought of list of everything we could do with this money. Are you then saying that all of those things are worth that money, but you're not?
Right.
And that question stayed with me for the next 3 days. And I had to answer it and say, yes, that's what I'm saying. That I'm willing to spend that money on all of those other things but I'm not. Those things are worth it. The vacation is worth it. The car's worth it. Our kids are worth it, but I'm not worth it. And that was a pivotal moment in my life. That was a pivotal moment in my life where I was able to say, I am worth it, and I am going to make this investment. I got to tell you, Cedrick, that investment changed the course of my life and my husband's life.
Well, that's an awesome question. First of all, but second, and probably more importantly, the awakening that
Yes.
you had with that question. Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And we know in this leadership development space that a lot of people get challenged with that type of a question, right? And it's not that they consciously thought that they weren't worth something. In a lot of cases, is subconsciously they just devalued their worth. And
Yeah, because everything else around you, it was a comparison game, Cedrick. It was interesting how my subconscious immediately went to all the other things that would be worth it. And that's why when you say, what pivotal questions, it's interesting because it's a different answer than I think a lot of people expect.
sure.
But when I look back on some of the most important questions that were asked of me that really changed the course of my life, that was it, and so that's why I'm so passionate about telling people, you're worth it. And when I share that story, many people have that little aha moment that's like, yeah, how many times have I done that? How many times have I said it was okay to spend on this, and this, but I won't do it for me? And it was interesting because at the time, video production, and I know there was a lot of things that he wanted to purchase to up-level his business. And I was like, well, you could take this money and you could buy this camera that you've always said you wanted, and he's like, again, excuses, right? But the decision that we made together to invest in me has multiplied his business now more than we ever could have expected. So it's just interesting how that one little decision expands everything.
Right. And I don't know if you're a lady of faith or not, but I am, and I will tell you. Here's the beauty of the way our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ works. He will take one thing, and you may be thinking this way, but he knows that he has a greater plan. So for you, that question was on you, but he knew he had a greater plan of impacting your family in Andrew's business. Yeah,
I am a person of faith, and I totally believe that, Cedrick. In that moment, God was challenging me on my belief of my worth, and he wanted to see me take that step. And with that step, he rewarded, he rewarded everyone. It was a step of faith.
Yes.
Even though I have traditionally looked at things as in, how is this a part of my spiritual journey? It absolutely was a part of my spiritual journey.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awesome. So with that, give our audience 2 or 3 things that an individual can do to achieve their goals.
Yeah, I think, again, so I think the first thing that I would say is get really clear on what you want. What is that goal, and how clear are you on that goal? That's been something that I've struggled with in the past. I didn't have clarity. And if I don't know what I'm shooting for, I'm never, ever going to be able to, to hit that target. So I think clarity is incredibly important. And then I think falling in love with it, a burning desire to accomplish it, has to be part of it. We can't be wishy-washy on that goal. We have to be clear about it, have to be passionate about stepping and moving toward it in the direction of it, and whether it's baby steps or whether it's leaps, constantly making that progression toward it. And then I think the third thing on that is to take daily consistent steps, right? For me, I know in my life, I've gotten, I would say, demotivated when it doesn't look like I'm making these giant leaps. But if I look back over the small progressive steps that I've taken over time, I'm much, much closer than I had been if I'd allowed myself to say, oh, I'm not making any progress and I'm just gonna quit. And then I also go back to the making quick decisions. I have learned that, for everything that we look at for every decision we make, there's reasons why we should and there's reasons why we shouldn't. You know, we do these lists of pros and cons. We do all, for our goals. And should I do it? Here's all the reasons why I should. Shouldn't I do it? Here's all the reasons why I shouldn't. You are always going to have reasons why you should and reasons why you shouldn't, and good reasons in both of those columns. But the question that we ask is it moving me closer to that goal that I've determined? Is it moving me closer to my purpose? Is it moving me closer to my mission? And if it's yes, then who cares about the pros and cons list? So that helps me make quick decisions. Whereas before I used to waffle. It's just one question. Does this move me closer in the direction of my purpose, my mission, my goal? If the answer is yes, then I don't need to waffle on making that decision. Because I've seen many times where I've waited, and then when the moment of opportunity was there, I missed it because I waffled in my decision making.
Yes. Well, it's amazing that you in that answer on decision making. So you have some decisions to make here. Would you rather? Okay. Would you rather have $1 million in Amazon gift cards or $100,000 in real money?
Oh man, I would rather have $1 million in Amazon gift cards.
Yes, me too. Because then I said I'm gonna try to buy some other gift cards so that I can turn it
right.
into cash.
And if you saw my husband buys on Amazon, and I don't know what it is, but now we kids, especially with COVID, everything's ordered through Amazon. And it's like unboxing day. Every time I'm Amazon, no one cares who it's for. It's just like the whole house lights up when a box from Amazon comes.
You see that little smile on the box and yes, we got another one.
Yeah.
Right. So would you rather have your own private island or your own private jet?
My own private jet.
Your own private jet. All right.
I love to travel. And I am missing travel right now, big time. So.
Okay. All right. Well, this is the last one, and this one might play right into your answer there. So, would you rather have free gas for 25 years or have a dream car?
Dream car.
Dream car. Okay. See, I thought you were going to say the free gas for 25 years to put in your jet.
Wow, I wasn't. Fair enough. I was not thinking about that. Who needs a car when you have a jet? That's good. These are good.
Those were good answers. What would you say is one of the most defining moments in your life?
Honestly, I have to go back and say answering the question on mentorship. But since I've already talked about that, I'll move to the next. And I have to say one of the most defining moments on a personal level would be I lost my brother when he was 15 years old in a boating accident. And unexpected. And there's a whole story behind that. But it was interesting to watch my brother, who was 15. And it was interesting because he became so clear on his purpose about 6 months before that accident happened. He had gone to a Christian school his whole life. My mom and dad couldn't really afford it anymore, so they moved him over to a public school. Struggled with that decision. But in those 6 months, he was intent on sharing, Jesus with everyone that he came in touch with. And then the accident happened and he passed. And I remember going to his school for a memorial service. And there were him and his friend were both in the accident. And, they asked the principal of the Christian school at the time, asked everyone in the public school, how many of you in this room did Joel share his faith with? And half of them raised their hands. And we figured about half were there for Joel and half were there for his friend. And that hit me. I came home and I said, man, he was 6 years my junior. And I thought, he has had more of an impact in his life. He was so intent and clear on his purpose. He was so, right with God. He was so all those things that we miss him, but we have hope. And it just made me realize, first of all, it challenged me and convicted me about getting very, about sharing my faith. And then the second thing was knowing my purpose and living it every day, because you do not know what tomorrow brings. So do not waste this day, live your purpose, don't wait. And so I think that was probably, for obvious reasons, but also for what I learned, one of the most impactful things that has happened in my life and what it's taught me. And in honoring his legacy, I have vowed that I will do those things, and that I will be that person because of that. So it definitely changed a lot of things for me and in my life.
Wow. That's an amazing story, an amazing impact that your 15-year-old brother was having in the lives of other people, helping, them better understand faith, a higher being, and really getting in touch with themselves. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. So what advice would you give emerging leaders who are trying to better understand leadership opportunities and trying to understand really ways to fill their opportunity toolbox?
I would say, without the shadow of a doubt, find yourself a good mentor. Find somebody that you can listen to that has been further than you down the road, that's successful in the areas in which you desire success. And step one, find them and work with them. Invest in yourself. Do not question that value. And then the second most important part of that equation is do what they tell you. I can't tell you how many young leaders that I've talked to, and I've told them, go find a mentor, and then they do it, but then they don't do what they tell them, Cedrick. I'm like, what? So don't miss that second half of the equation. In my mentorship relationship that I've had, with Paul Martinelli, many people have said, what has been the difference maker for you? Because Paul has told me a lot of people mentor with him, and I said, I did what he said. Yeah. And so I think that from my experience, it's been investing in myself and mentorship. And then if you're going to invest in yourself and you're going to pay for mentorship, make sure you're mentoring with someone that you believe is giving you good advice, and then do what they say.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than having a mentor that has the credibility and has been places that you want to go, and then they give you the advice, and then you question it and say, no, I'm not going to do it, or that worked for him, it won't work for me.
Yeah. Well, and if they're doing two things, you're devaluing your investment and you're devaluing your mentor's time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So as a mentor myself now, there's nothing that pleases me more when I see people doing what I share and then succeeding, and having awareness and having success. So it's a win-win.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that. Well, you just knocked out a couple of my questions, because my question was going to be, my next question was going to be, do you have a mentor? So definitely you do. And see, and that's awesome. And some people that I've asked that question to, Heather, said that they have multiple mentors, and I'm assuming you're in the same.
I do. Yeah, I do. I have my inner circle of people. I tend to have, my mentor that I go to relationally. I have my mentor that I go to in business and growth. I have my mentor that I go to spiritually. I've got a circle of men, and they're all on the same page. They all know each other, right? And so it's not like I'm getting competing voices. Mm-hmm. But I tend to have my inner circle, and covering those. And now I've recently hired a health coach, so I've got my health covered.
Okay, all right. Well, it's always good to have that health coach. I probably need to hire one of those myself.
Gotta have that, again, same thing. I'm like, why not work with, I've tried it on my own, and I don't know that what I'm guessing. Well, why do I need to guess? Let's just make this happen. Let's get with somebody who can, can help me with that. So yeah, I think it's important. I believe in it in all areas.
Well, that is awesome. So tell us, what's one of the best things that's happened to you this year?
I think one of the best things that has happened to me this year, considering where we are in the world and with COVID and everything else, mm-hmm. I have to say, I know this is going to sound crazy, but when I look at this year, I've harvested the good out of COVID, right? Having what's going on in the world has allowed me to get laser focused on where I am in my professional development, in my business, and so there's not been a lot else going on, and so we've taken it and we focused as our family. We focused inward. We have our relationships with each other, which we've all been in close quarters like everybody else. But we have a great time together. We love each other's company. We've rediscovered that. And then just the focus that it's allowed me to have on my business. As much as I love travel, we've not been able to do that. So we have focused intensely on growing, that part, and it's worked. And so I can say I have learned in all things be thankful, right? And I've been thankful in this. So I think it's been a good thing.
Well, that is awesome. Well, COVID has done one of two things to families. One, like you said, your family brought you closer together. The other thing is COVID has said, you wake up and you go, oh my God, I can't stand being around these people every day.
Yeah. I know a lot of people have said that that's been the case. And, I think that I love spending time with my family. I love when we get to be together. And it's reestablished that relationship. And, if I had to spend, when you're asking those would you rather questions, if I had to pick, would I rather spend, the rest of my life with this group or with, my family, it would be family hands down. So. Awesome.
Well, that's a great choice, by the way.
Yeah.
And you've had a lot of successes in your life, and but we've also had times where we failed, where maybe things didn't work out the way that we thought it should. So tell us about one failure that you've had, and what's the lessons you learned from it?
Yeah, I think that most recently, in working in empowered living, I'm working with a person who's grows fast and grows big. And when I first started, I remember there was one particular instance where I was asked to do something, and I waited and I thought I had my reasons why, and then when it came back around, the question was, did you do that? And the answer was no. And the lesson, and it was a failure point with me because I had not done what I was asked. But the learn from that was never wait. And one of the reasons why I've said so many times in this interview, be fast to make decisions, is because that has been a failure point for me. I give that one example, but it's been an overarching failure point that after, 5 or 6 times, I've come around to say, I'm not repeating that again. And I learned from that the things that I was focusing on that made me wait are not the things that I should have focused on. That we can overcome any of those barriers that we give ourselves that stand in our decision-making process by looking at all the alternatives on the other side.
Sure.
And so I now use that as my gauge, and I never, I don't wait. And so I think that's been a major learn, and I'm very different. As a matter of fact, to the point where I took, those personality assessments that we all take. My whole life, I've registered on one end of the scale, and when I retook it this time, it actually had, slightly different readings. And I thought, isn't that interesting? And a lot of that came from learning to make decisions quickly and learning to, not play the waiting game and losing out.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a high D, so with high Ds, we make decisions very quickly.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes that means we make decisions.
On the other end, you're listening in, there's hope. We can do it. We can make decisions.
So, sometimes that means that for high D, that means that we make decisions without all the information. We heard, hey, we need to go get somebody out of that building, and we say, okay, let's go. We didn't hear, but it's on fire.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I know. We all have our strengths, but for me, that's been a big growth area. So.
Well, that's awesome. So what's I know you're doing a lot of stuff here with Empowered Living, and not that you're going to go anywhere, but what's really next for your career, and what do you want to do?
Yeah. As I look at the bigger picture, I'm continuing to grow in Empowered Living. This is a place that I really feel like I found a home. And it's just allows for a good mix of being a part. I missed when I was doing all of my own training. I missed being a part of a team. I'm like that, I'm all about the team. And so we have such a great team here. We really come to an amazing fit. And I've learned about me that's an important part of me, of my satisfaction, or, being happy with what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And so the goal would be to continue to grow in and up in my position here, as well as looking at moving back into some teaching, moving back into some front-facing, teaching. And so that's kind of where I'm focusing over the next, 6 to 18 months.
Well, awesome. Again, teaching and adding value to people, that kind of got you into this business. So that's awesome that at some point you want to kind of add that to what you're doing at the Empowered Living community. So since you mentioned Empowered Living community, tell our audience about the Empowered Living community and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, oh my goodness, there's so much that we're doing. So Empowered Living is a company that's headed up by Paul Martinelli and Ronnie Goldbraith. And our mission is to serve the community with growth, clarity, and, living an empowered life. We do that through various means. We do that through personal growth programs. We do that through business growth programs. We do that through daily Facebook page programming. We have a Facebook page, Empowered Living. It's a public page. You can search it, just search Empowered Living, and it is, you'll see it. And there's 1.8, actually we just passed 2 million followers. And we use that page for daily show. 2 million.
2 million, awesome.
Yeah, we passed that a couple weeks ago. And, so Paul and Roddy have their daily show. We now have Empowered Women. We have, daily shows where we highlight people from the community sharing. We have programming, we have the goal is to continue growing to be a lifestyle brand. And of course you and your team are part of that, Cedrick. We have your show on there every week, twice a week. And, so it's really to grow it and become, like I said, this lifestyle brand. And I just love being part of being able to see other people grow. And that's really what we're all about, is growth. And then also being a platform for other people to be able to be showcased.
Sure, absolutely. Yes. And the Black Entrepreneurs Institute is thrilled and excited. We love being part of the Empowered Living community. So thank you.
Yeah, we love having you be a part of it.
Oh, that is awesome. So, we know that the journey to become an entrepreneur is one of those it's never an easy one, right? When we think about it, we go, man, I want to do this, right? But we know that it's never an easy or smooth road. There's going to be some ups and downs. So what are 2 or 3 pieces of advice you would share with someone that's considering becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Great question, Cedrick. And, I come from a group of entrepreneurs when I say that in my family. My dad was I call them serial entrepreneurs. Like, you can't work for other people, right? They have to work for themselves. My brother also, and of course I work for Paul, who they're all, and my husband. I mean, I'm surrounded by serial entrepreneurs, and I always consider myself the safe. Andrew was the one who had his own business, and I had the safe corporate job. And, he pushed me, and Paul pushed me to step out into my own business wise. So I can really speak to people who, coming from a perspective of, I wasn't a serial entrepreneur. It was just in me, and I had to do that. I preferred actually not to do that. And it wasn't until I discovered something that excited me and I was more passionate about than I was afraid of, that made me take that step, right? So I think in looking at advice for other budding entrepreneurs, from my perspective, it would be again, be really clear on what it is that you want to do and what you're passionate about. And then risk, you gotta be willing to take risks. Right. So if you're yourself, Cedrick, if you're a D, you guys are okay with that. You're all good. It's not a problem. Yeah. But there's other people out there like me, I found something I was super passionate about, and it made me willing to take risks I was not willing to take before really connecting with that passion, and being clear on what that passion was for me. And I found that risk taking became okay in that area because I wanted it more than I was afraid of it. So, I think risk taking is an important part to decide. If you're someone good with it, great. If you're not, you're going to have to do that as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
So, get comfortable with that. And then again, those daily steps, do something every day that's going to move you closer to being able to do that. When I was in a credit union, I had every day I took a step forward toward a date, my transition date, where I went from employee to client, and I was no longer on payroll, and that was scary for me. But I had to set those time frames. I remember calling Paul panicking. Like the day I knew what I went from full time to part time to no time, right? And the moment I had a date that I was going part time, panic attack, palpitation. I was like 3 months away from the date. I had the date. Wow. And I was like, and he had to like talk me off a ledge and say, it's fine. This is, and every day, just take a baby step toward it. Every day, take a baby step toward it. And I did that every day until the baby steps added up to, I was afraid of that.
Well, when you, that check that comes with that corporate job is really what's holding people, right?
Yep.
And when that check is no longer there or dangled in front of you, then fear sets in. And some people, like you said, hey, you were panicking in that moment. But you must know that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, there's something greater that's out there for you. So now you can still have that check. You just have to now really work for it to deliver that check. Versus just automatically coming every 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, one of the things that Paul shared with me in that moment was, so I was taking a step in that I had the date, but I was also taking that step in that I was working on gaining clients in my off hours, right? So I was networking. I was doing evening and weekend or PTO day clients. And as I was doing that, he said, Heather, it's so important for you to write yourself a paycheck as you get those. Like, you need to write yourself a paycheck. I was putting it all in savings and like stashing it up, and he's like, nope, you got to write yourself. You need to become habitual in your thinking, and that this is your paycheck now, right? And interestingly enough, Andrew and I look back, and had we not taken that journey, had I not made those steps, we, based on the incremental raises that you get when you're in the corporate world, and based on where I was in the company I worked for, I probably more than tripled my income. That never would have happened. He's like quadrupled his. So that never would have happened had I not been willing, had I not connected with what I was most passionate about. It made me willing to want something more than fear it. And then taking those baby steps along the way to move me to that point. And each time, I'm not saying I lost fear. I just kept reminding myself of what I loved more.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And it's amazing that you talk about, hey, Paul said, hey, you have to pay yourself. One of the things that we do with the Black Entrepreneurs Institute boot camp, and we just did it just last night, actually, we help teach these boot campers how to, one, set their price, how to set their target net profit margin, how to set their target gross profit margin. And so we brought in a former colleague of mine who's an expert in pricing and margin things. And last night, as he was walking them through this, one of the things he talked about is how you determine and set your salary. So that it's not so high that you strip out all profit in your organization, so you can't reinvest in your organization, but not set it so low that you also then struggle as well. So it's amazing that you brought that point up. So
great work you guys are doing. It's so needed. It's so needed.
Well, thank you. Definitely, it's needed, and we're seeing more and more that young entrepreneurs, and when I say young entrepreneurs, I'm not talking about young in age. I'm just talking about young in being an entrepreneur. At different ages, it's amazing the help and the assistance and the mentorship that they need. So if you're out there and you're looking for an organization that can help you go from struggling to thriving and surviving, definitely check out the Black Entrepreneurs Institute. We can do that. So last question for you, Heather. If there was a book written about you, what would the title be, and what would it be said on the back summary of your book?
I saw this question. I'm like, I hope he doesn't ask me that one. I can tell you what I'm striving for it to say, right, Cedrick? And that is, the title would simply be "She lived what she believed," or "She lives what she believes." And the back would be a tribute to, God. Heather believes in God, family, growth, living your dream, and and here's the way she did it. And the people would be able to look at me and truly say, the people who knew her best loved her most.
Awesome. Well, that is a great summary to that book. I love that question. Someone asked me that question in an interview once, and I was like, I'm keeping that.
I'm taking it. Yeah. It's a good
Absolutely.
one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
They tell you to write your eulogy, right? It was so that you know what people, and that's a tough one. But it's a great reflection to sit down and think about and then live into.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think it's either Peter Drucker or Jim Rohn. One of them says, follow effective action with reflection, right? So that's what that question is all about, is a quiet reflection. So awesome. Well, Heather, I just want to say thank you again very much for joining us today on Talk Leadership with Cedrick. And
thank you for having me.
Well, that's awesome. I know that our audience got a lot from you. So I want you to put in the comments one thing that you took from this interview that you will be able to implement in your life today, not tomorrow, but today. Heather said several times, be clear on what you want. She said several times, be a risk taker. And then the thing that she said several times was take action steps right now. So write down in the comments one thing that you're going to take from this interview with Heather Manzano and use and implement in your life or in your business today. We look forward to seeing your comments. So again, Heather, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Wow. Didn't I tell you were going to enjoy the interview with Heather? She left so many nuggets for you, and definitely put in the comments what things you took from the things that Heather said that you're going to be able to implement into your life today, not tomorrow, not the next day, not the following day, but what you're going to start doing now. You see, in order to take your life, in order to take your dreams, in order to take your business, in order to take your goals to the next level, you have to be willing to take action today. Leaders are decisive. They make decisions when they have all the information, quick, fast, and in a hurry, and then they move. And I love what Napoleon Hill, he says, when you know what it is that you want to do, write it down, then repeat it to yourself every day, twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. Then he says, take action immediately, whether you believe you're ready or not. And that's really what this is, the essence of this interview was about. And this is also the essence of what I try to tell everyone on a consistent basis. You have to be willing to take risk and take action. 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 In fact, in the comments, once you write down that one thing that you're going to do right away today, then I want you to also write in the comments, take risk and take action. Take risk and take action. And I guarantee you, once you start believing that and once you start implementing that in your life every day, you will see a difference in everything that happens to you, in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in every aspect of your life. There will be no question about it. Now, let me tell you what, guys. So tomorrow night, you need to tune in at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. I will have, as our guest on Talk Leadership with Cedrick, Ms. Joanna Rincon. And so you want to tune in for that. Then at 6:30 Central Time, you'll go with us like we do every Tuesday night to the Empowered Living Network. You're going to hear my good friend and business partner, Damian Johnson. He is going to be doing a teaching, and you don't want to miss that. Damian is always very active, and he's a good teacher. And so you want to make sure that you tune in for his teaching. I'm not going to tell you about it because I really don't even know what he's going to be talking about. But I know whatever he's going to be talking about, you're going to want to hear it because it's going to be good. All right. Then on once you're finished with the Empowered Living Network at 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time, come back over here to Facebook, and we're going to tune in to Talk with TK, and she's going to be talking about her Mindset 180. You know, everything that we do, everything that we think, everything that we say, everything that we feel, and everything that we do starts with a thought. And she's going to be talking about mindset and how to change mindsets and how mindset dictates everything else that happens in your life, right? So we're going to be listening in to Talk with TK at 7:30 Central Time tomorrow. Tune in on Thursday with me again for my radio show. It's called Talk Leadership with Cedrick, and we're on the radio. Folks, we are in over 115 countries right now. It is amazing what has happened. I started this year, folks, not even being online, not even being in front of you, just posting every now and then. Now we have Talk Leadership with Cedrick on Monday nights. We have Talk Leadership with Cedrick on Tuesday evenings. We have the Black Entrepreneurs channel that we're on the Empowered Living and the Black Entrepreneurs Show on the Empowered Living Network. And then I have Talk Leadership that's being broadcast in over 115 countries right now on the radio. So join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Central Time on the IBGR.network. And you can hear me talk live on the radio, and we're talking to business leaders. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and I tell you this every time we leave the air. If you're not at the table, you are on the menu. And let me tell you what, folks, you don't want to be on the menu. So tune in again tomorrow night for Talk Leadership with Cedrick. I really enjoyed having you here tonight. Thank you and goodbye.